We've got a pretty good show for you today, I think. You'll let me know what you think here once we get going. But we're out here on the boat today. We're out here fishing marlin. I don't know if you saw my I went live this morning with our hookup. We had a double and a single already this morning on the marlin. We've had quite a few takes, quite a few. Hold on a second. Everybody decided they need to talk. Everybody decided they need to talk on the radio right now. All right. So first of all, again, thank you all for joining us today. Thank you for joining us. And whoops. Thanks for joining us. I'm sorry. We're on this boat. We're trying to catch some marlin today, so I'm trying to do both things at the same time. But first of all, thank you all for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed that show yesterday. Ryan, wasn't he great? Sleigh Day. That was an incredible day. Incredible interview with him and what he offers and what he supplies with Sleigh Day boat rentals. That's pretty incredible. Go check out Ryan at Sleigh Day and check out all his cool stuff. And thank you, Greg from Opson, for providing those free gifts for our listeners. Everybody on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, get ready. Tomorrow, we're putting this out all over social media. The ads are already out across everything, but those of you on Spotify and Apple Podcast and Megaphone, we got the legend, Mr. Todd Manser, joining us tomorrow on our live show. Should be quite spectacular. I've known Todd since he was born. We're going to have a great time kicking back, talking about his great service and what he does for everybody and all the things he's done in his career, fishing swordfish for a living, harpoon swordfish, commercial fishing, running charter boats, all the different things Todd has done. We'll get way deep into Todd Manser tomorrow talking to him, so make sure you don't miss the live show tomorrow at 12 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. And then don't forget, Pacific Coast Sport Fishing Show coming up the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th of March. If you show up wearing one of these shirts, you're going to get free stuff. We're going to be giving away hats, sunglass holders, all kinds of different pieces of swag, some Baja jerky. A bunch of different sponsors have gotten involved in helping me put this together. So if you show up to the Pacific Coast Sport Fishing Show wearing one of my shirts, you're going to get free stuff. That's all I can say. We got plenty of shirts still available. You're going to get free stuff if you show up wearing one of my shirts. And then a couple more days, Kelly's going to give away that free trip fishing on Bowline Sport Fishing with Justin Botrell out of 22nd Street Landing. We're going to be going on a 4-pack trip to go catch bluefin. Whenever that fish starts to bite, we'll put together the best possible trip for you and 3 of your friends. And you can win that simply by going to our store. You don't have to buy anything. Just go visit our store, Your Saltwater Guide, the store. And while visiting the store, that'll get you in there for an opportunity to win that trip. Kelly's going to pick one of your names out of the hat on February 1st. So go check that out. Darren, wasn't that a great show yesterday? I know you're listening during class there at the school. I always want to say hi to you and all your students there. And it was great having Ryan. He's a school principal, but he also runs a hell of a business. Absolutely amazing. I'm blown away. I wouldn't get any views if it wasn't for all of you. Today, we're going to talk more about live bait, because I'm out here on this beautiful Hatteras today, fishing down here in Cabo San Lucas with some of my friends. They invited me to come out with them today. Yesterday, they were out fishing and they had a handful of marlin, but they had all you want bait. They caught tons of mackerel yesterday on the sabikis. So they didn't think that you needed to get bait this morning. So there's no live bait on the boat, and we're able to catch 0 live bait. Gang, there's never a time when you go buy live bait when you're driving by someone who's selling bait and you don't have any bait on the boat, get some goddamn bait. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cuss, but you should always have some live bait. Even if you think you can go get some live bait, you better have some live bait on the boat, gang. I'm telling you, we don't have any live bait on the boat. We've seen probably a dozen tailors today. We've had quite a few fish come up in the pattern behind the boat. Would it have changed it if we had live bait? I don't know, but I sure would like to have tried it. Casting a live bait off the bow onto a couple of tailors instead of a dead bait. I don't know if that would make any difference, but it might. It just might, but I would love to be able to have the chance. So we're going, I don't even know. I think it's everything lined up for this show because I wanted to talk more about bait today. That's probably why this happened. But gang, I hear people all the time go, oh, I'm just going to go catch my own bait when I get out there. Those are the days where you drive by the bait receiver and you get out to go bait fishing and you can't find bait to save your ass. That's what's so nice about Southern California and the Everingham Brothers and San Pedro Bait Company and James down there in Oceanside and all the bait haulers up and down the coast. It's a phenomenal opportunity here in Southern California. We have giant bait receivers at most of the harbors in Southern California where you can pull up and trade money for bait. That is a great concept because I'm telling you, when you get out here like we are today and you don't have any live bait, oh my gosh, it absolutely sucks. You want to make sure you have live bait when you go out live bait fishing. And I've read this from people, oh, I like to catch my own bait. Well, so do I. And I like to do a lot of stuff, but some of those things don't happen. And why would I ever drive by live bait to go catch live bait? I'm going to trade my money for the bait, put it in my bait tank, and then if I find some bait when I'm out fishing, I'll catch some more bait, put it in my bait tank. I've never had enough bait. I've never had enough of anything. That's why I'm sober today, but I've never had enough bait ever. I could have 20 scoops of bait and I can still run out of bait just because I like to feed them and I like to catch them and I like to have a lot of bait on the boat when I go fishing. And that's why I talk to all of my members of my website, Your Saltwater Guide. And the very first thing we talk about whenever a member calls is what kind of a bait tank do you have? Do you have a large bait tank in the center of your deck, round or oval in shape, where the bait can swim in a direction against the current? Or do you have a little box in the back on the right-hand corner or the left-hand corner where the water shoots in the top and shoots out the top? And it's a little box and the bait can't swim and all your bait dies every time you go? And most of them say yes. And I say, well, that's why you suck at fishing, because you don't have a bait tank. Well, I don't want a bait tank. I don't want to put a bait tank in the middle of my deck because my wife likes to have all that room and I like to have all that room. Here's my deal, gang. I don't care how much room I have. When I get to where I'm going and I don't have any bait, I don't care. Oh, well, we'll put the bait tank in the middle of the deck. We won't be comfortable. Shut up. Who cares how comfortable you are? When you're going fishing, if you don't have live bait, it sucks. And you want to have as much as you can. We have a 20, whoa, a little wave right there. Come on, Seakeeper. We have a 20-foot or 21-foot well-crafted. We have a 60-gallon bait tank on a 21-foot well-craft. And I still run out of bait on that boat. It's all about having as much bait as you possibly can. You want to be able to chum. You want to be able to change your bait. You want the most liveliest bait you can possibly have on your hook. All that stuff matters when you're fishing with live bait. You got to have live bait when you fish with live bait. I can't emphasize it enough. I know I hurt your feelings when you guys, oh, I don't want to take up all that space on my deck. Well, then you don't want to catch fish. That's fine. Don't catch fish. But why are you on my website telling me you want to catch fish, but then you don't want to put bait on your boat, or you don't want to put a bait tank on your boat? Gang, it's so important to have the biggest bait tank you could possibly have on your boat. And you want to have it dead center in the middle of the deck. Also, you can make it a table for when you're doing your harbor cruises or your whale watch cruises. You can make a bait tank, put a beautiful lid on the top of it, make it a table. Now it becomes the focal point of your boat. It becomes the table. It gives somebody something to hold on to, gives your wife or your significant other somewhere to put their glass of wine, because there's nowhere to put your glass of wine on the boat. If you set it on the gunnel, it falls in the water. If you set it up by where you steer, it gets knocked over. You put it dead center on top of your bait tank, it doesn't get knocked over. You can put your cheese and crackers on there for when you're doing a harbor cruise. There's so many good things that can happen by having a good bait tank in the center of your boat. Too many good things can happen. So I want to make sure right now, Randy over at Blue Water, Mark over at Pacific Edge, they're busy, but they're not as busy as they'll be in a couple of months when you decide, oh, I should have got that bait tank. I need to get that bait tank. And now it's April and the bluefin are starting to bite and there's other fish on the horizon and you don't have your bait tank, but you want to get your bait tank, but they don't have time and they're not going to have any time until the end of the summer. And you're like, I should have got my bait tank now. Gang, get on somebody's website, do something, go figure something out so that you have the biggest bait tank you could possibly have on your boat. It matters more than you can imagine. We're on a beautiful, beautiful 65-foot Hatteras today, and we don't have any live bait. It's absolutely sad. It's sad for me being the live bait guy that I am. I would have gotten some live bait today. That's just what I would have done. That's just how I do it. But I'm not taking anything away from them. They have their own way of doing things, but sure would have been nice to have some live bait to cast on some fish today. And I bet you from now on, when you're out on your boat and you run out of bait, you're going to wish you had a bigger bait tank, gang. It is the key to fishing in Southern California. If you look at most of the successful fishermen in Southern California, your Wayne Diegos, your Jamie Thins, your Todd Mansers, they have a giant bait tank in the center of their deck. That's just how they do it, because they know how important it is to have bait on your boat when you go out fishing. It's super important. You go on any of the sport boats, their whole back of their boat is a bait tank. The whole back part of the boat is a bait tank. It's a giant bait tank, humongous bait tank. On a 3/4 day or half-day boat, they got a giant bait tank. Because why? Not because they want to drag hundreds and hundreds of gallons of water up and down the Southern California coast. It's because bait is super important in Southern California. Super duper important. Yeah, we're trolling, but we're having a ton of tailors and sleepers and feeders coming up all around us, Gilbert, and we don't have any live bait. You trolling, fine, but boy, casting a live bait on a sleeping marlin or a tailing marlin is pretty spectacular. It changes the game. It's all about having bait, gang. I can't emphasize it enough. It's about having as much bait as you possibly can. Go to my website, yoursaltwaterguide.com, and look at the section on bait. Look at how much emphasis I put on the bait, how your bait tank should be, how the water flow should be in your bait tank. It all matters, and it all matters a lot. It's super important to make sure you have the best advantage out there on the water when you go and spend your hard-earned money to go fishing on your boat. You want to make sure you have exactly what you need when you get out there. You don't want to get out there and then have to try to figure out, how am I going to do this today without bait? What am I going to do? How am I going to pull this off? It's going to be really hard once you're out there if you didn't plan beforehand, if you don't have a big enough bait tank, if you didn't put enough bait in the bait tank. Everything matters, gang. And I teach you how to load your bait, how to make sure that the bait is as healthy as it can. I teach you how it's super important to make sure that the flow of the bait tank fills up 8 minutes, not in 6 and not in 10, but in 8 minutes. If it fills up in 6 minutes, it filled up way too fast, it's going to rip all the scales off your bait and kill them. And if it fills up in 12 minutes, it filled up way too slow and there's not enough oxygen flow in the water. How do you figure out that? What you do is you drain your bait tank, put the plug in, turn on your pump, set your watch, and watch how long it takes for it to fill all the way to the top. If it takes longer than 8 minutes, You want to figure out the flow and why it's flowing so slow. Maybe your bait pump's ready to give it up. And if it flows too fast, you might have to put a little reduction valve in there to slow the water flow down, because too much water too fast has a big time effect on your bait, and it will kill your bait because they cannot swim against the current. It's going way too fast. It's ripping all their scales off. And the flow of the bait tank has to be in one direction. You can't have water squirting in 3 or 4 different directions, because that's just going to turn your bait tank into a washing machine, and it's going to kill all your bait. We've had so many people in the last 2 weeks go to the website and sign up and never call me. Gang, my phone number's everywhere. Everywhere you can get on and call me. Before you sign up to the website, call me at 949-374-0786. I want to help you navigate the website. I want to show you all the cool things that the website has to offer. I want to show you how phenomenal the community is that we built on the website and how we're all willing to share. Where am I? I'm in Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. That's where I live, and that's where we're out fishing today on this big, beautiful Hatteras. And we're having a good time. We already, like I said, we already caught 3 marlin. We should have about a dozen, but we don't have any live bait to cast on them. And that's what's going on here today. So, gang, we are going to wrap it up because I want to get back out there and play and have fun. We normally do about 15 or 20 minutes, so you can watch this during your lunch break. Everybody that's watching, thank you very much. You do not want to miss tomorrow's show. We got the legend Todd Manser on the show with us tomorrow. It's going to be great. We're going to do the text the show with Todd. You can text my number. Those of you on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Megaphone, you guys can send in your questions now for me or Todd. We'll answer everybody's questions tomorrow. Send the messages to 949-374-0786. We'll answer every question. We'll talk for a long time tomorrow with my buddy Todd. He likes to talk more than I do. So you're in for quite a show tomorrow. Make sure you join us. And if you miss it, we post it every day on our website, YourSaltwaterGuide.com. Plus it's on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Megaphone, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. And I'll see you all tomorrow. Thank you very much for watching the show today. Don't forget, hey, Jumpin' Jack, what's happening, buddy? Jumpin' Jack. You got to get back down here, bro. You missed a hell of a swell. All right, check out my website, YourSaltwaterGuide.com. Check out the shirts. Make sure you're wearing one at the show, the PCS show, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th of March. And keep an eye on February 1st. We're going to give away that free fishing trip. Thank you, everybody, and have a great day. Turn off the news or I'm lying. Woo, woo, woo.